This is episode 12 of the Art of Hunting podcast. And we have we've had some video issues, so we're going live with the audio podcast and one video angle instead of two.
We can't get the other camera on me, so I'm just a voice in the room again. It's okay.
So, Mad Dog's here. Cassie's here.
I wore my best Ryan Kirby outfit, and no one can see it. But that's okay.
Oh, man. They're making fun of me.
Yeah, I'll just Vanna White the poster back there.
My uniform is a t-shirt with a flannel over it and jeans. And so...
And I have the rip in there.
Mad Dog's like dressing up like me for Halloween, apparently, today.
You are.
But today we're going to talk, we got Father's Day coming up, and so we're going to tell some like Father's Day stories, and shout out to Mom. We didn't do anything on Mother's Day. So we're gonna inevitably work in some stories like of both my parents, Mom and Dad, from like growing up and everything.
Yes,
so we got some cool ones.
Happy Memorial Day. Memorial Day was yesterday.
Yep.
So happy Memorial Day to all you families out there, and
just everybody that served.
Remind you guys,
got to keep that in mind.
We remember, so just happy Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. So
Yep. Shout out to the vets. We we get to do a lot of easy stuff here, just because of the freedoms that we have in this country. I mean, we've talked about it before. Like, we have problems, but we don't really have problems. We have printer problems and stuff like that. But
first world.
Yes, and we're not, fighting the threat of communism taking over the world like a lot of our generations before us did. And I think it's good to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So
I did my Murph yesterday, my little mini Murph.
You did?
It was 60% of the workout.
It's more than I did.
It was awful.
Yeah. I've never actually done Murph.
Oh gosh.
I've done a lot of CrossFit, but
oh, okay. So we have to explain because Cassie doesn't know. It's okay. But for all you others that don't know either.
Cassie doesn't have a mic. So if we hear like a random chime in, we will repeat the question for the audience and then answer said question.
Yeah. So Murph in the CrossFit community is a workout dedicated to a
It's Mike Murphy.
Yes.
He was one of the lone survivor guys.
Was
off
he?
That movie,
okay.
If I remember right.
I can never remember what branch they were in or what I don't know, so I always get that wrong. But he's in the military, and did he die in service?
I'm pretty sure he was one of the lone survivor guys that died.
Yeah.
I could be getting that wrong.
Yeah,
and I apologize after we give a shout out to the vets if I butchered that.
Yeah.
But he was like a beast, and if I remember right, he did this workout like at the base, like while he was like, this is what he did for a workout.
You run, the workout is you run a mile and then 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 air squats, and then you run a mile again.
Yeah.
You did all that today?
No.
They do it on Memorial Day at a lot of CrossFit boxes.
Yeah, every CrossFit like gym or box will have like a Memorial Day Murph kind of. So like Postal yesterday, my gym that I go to, shout out Postal, they did their Murph at 10 a.m. yesterday, and then they had like a little potluck afterwards. A lot of people do that too. They'll like grill out. It's like a whole thing. And then, but like you all do it together, and I couldn't go yesterday because I came here for Sketch Drop plug. But I did mine, and I can't do the whole workout. I haven't been. Yeah, I haven't been back to avidly doing.
A lot of guys do it with a vest too.
Yeah, you wear a 20-pound. You wear a
20-pound
weight vest. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a vest, so I didn't do that either. I had a little mini Murph and did like. Also, it was raining, so I didn't run. We have like a little elliptical, so I did a little elliptical and then did like part of the air squats, push-ups, pull-ups, all that. So
I don't think I can even do one pull-up.
It's hard for women. It really is. Like you got to be a beast of a woman to do pull-ups, like a set of them. I mean, it's just your bodies are not wired like dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it was good.
Yeah.
I did it in 25 minutes. I was shocked.
Yeah.
And usually you time yourself too. That's the thing. You train and see how fast you can do it.
Yeah.
So that's the goal. But yeah, happy Memorial Day.
Cool. Happy Memorial Day. So Father's Day is coming up. I'll start with some inspiration. Well, actually, we'll start with some inspirational quotes, and then we'll tell Rhett's tooth story, and then we'll talk about
Ryan won Father of the Year with
I did
his
not win
story.
Father of the Year. I did not win Father of the Year. So one of the we'll do the farmer quote later. So so I've got a 6-year-old boy and a 3-year-old girl, and Rhett is our boy, and he's a strong-willed kid. He's been strong-willed. He's been hard from the day he was born. Just has. He's just that kid, and you don't ever want to like squelch that. I mean, those are the qualities that are going to help him be successful later in life. He's real hard on himself. He pushes himself. He's got a lot of me in him, and he was going through a phase. I think he was 5, but he was saying bad words, and he heard me say them, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think he also probably picked some other stuff up from like hanging out with older boys at school, hearing some of that kind of stuff. And he was just pushing it. He was testing us a lot. He was really pushing the limits going through that phase. And my parents washed my mouth out with soap when I said bad words, and a lot of times I didn't even know what I was saying. I just repeated stuff I heard and didn't know what they were. So we started doing that. I was like, I'm going to nip this in the bud. We're going to start washing his mouth out with soap every time. And so I started doing like the Dawn dish soap and just like puddling it underneath between his tongue and his front teeth, and Kim got on me for that, like just dumping the soap in there. So she bought a bunch of bar soap, and Rhett was 5. He was not at the age where he was going to start losing his teeth yet, his baby teeth. And, so I started doing that. I started doing the bar soap. And he said something one time, and your kids, you will learn this later, Mad Dog. Sometimes your kids will just push a button in you that just takes you to another level. It's like, yeah, they do stuff. You got to get on them, you got to lay. And then they like do something to test you.
Like deliberately.
Like I can't think of anything recently, but like if you tell them not to do something, and they'll look you in the eye and just slowly do it on purpose just to see what happens. And it will like make you shoot smoke out of your ears as a parent. You get so mad. And he did something like that. And where I can't remember what it was. I told him not to say a bad word or don't do this. And he dropped a bad word. I don't remember what it was, like on purpose. Like he did something that just sent me to another level. So we walked over to the kitchen sink and I was like, all right, we're washing your mouth out with soap. Come here. And I had the bar soap. And I was like, I'm going to really get him. And I'm going to rake this bar soap against his bottom teeth and like get it all down in there, And I start like raking it, and I'm on like the 3rd swipe, and he's got his mouth open, and it rips one of his bottom teeth out. Like his little front tooth gets caught in the soap, and it pulls it out. And it was like not ready to fall out yet. I mean, obviously they're baby teeth. They're not very strong. So he starts bleeding and he starts screaming and I start cussing, which is ironic.
So you're saying bad words.
So I'm saying bad words. and I didn't know what happened at first. He's just bleeding and I look out and there's the tooth stuck in the bar of soap in there. And so Rhett lost 2 of his little front teeth long before he started like losing actual teeth. Now he's got like wiggly teeth and he's missing his big first front tooth. But I told Cassie and Madison that story the other day, and they thought it was hilarious. So he was missing a tooth. Literally, I looked on my camera roll. It was a year. It was a year ago. So he was missing teeth like 11 months before he should have been missing teeth.
Oh my gosh, it's like a Christmas Story scene.
Yeah,
like from that movie.
Yeah,
where he says the F word in the car in front of his dad when they're changing the tire. That's what. When I told my dad that story, he's like, oh, he dropped the F-bomb, didn't he? I was like, I don't know, I guess.
I don't even remember what it was, but it was one of those, it was like purposeful where he was testing me and you have to
Kids, gotta love
deal
it.
with that.
Gotta love it. Okay,
Yep.
your inspirational farmer's quote.
Now inspirational stuff. Well, so I grew up in the Midwest on a farm, and my dad was a farmer, my mom was a postmaster, and my dad, there were at least 3 generations of farmers. I really don't even know like the history of my family before then, but I know that my dad, my grandpa, and my great grandpa all farmed in the same, and it was the type where like everybody grew up within a couple miles of each other, that kind of deal. And so I was, my brother and I were the first generation to go to school, to go to college, and we both moved away. So he works for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's like a senior VP at the Chiefs now. He's done extremely well in the NFL, and I've done my thing. But yeah, we grew up on a farm, and really the way that I grew up, a lot of the stuff that my parents taught me has been fundamental in how we've been successful here. To what level we've been successful is to be determined. But so we kind of wanted to do a shout out to Father's Day, segue, make up for Mother's Day, and just kind of talk about that, how it plays into our art business now. But no, so Dad sent me a long time ago. This was August 2010, so 13 years ago, and a page from the Progressive Farmer magazine. And no, at the end they always have they have quotes in the back of that magazine. And he sent me this one a while back and actually framed it and put it in my studio. Which, by the way, I'm not sure what that is.
I was about to ask, is that a basket of daisies?
I just noticed that. So for those of you on YouTube, you can look at a basket of daisies while I read this thing. But no, there were some really good quotes in here. There's one by Thomas Paine. The real man smiles in trouble, gathers strength from distress, and grows strong by reflection. Do not pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure a difficult one. That was Bruce Lee. The true measure of a man is not how he behaves in moments of comfort and convenience, but how he stands at times of controversy and challenges. That was MLK, Martin Luther King. This is a cool and a simple one. Adversity reveals genius. Prosperity conceals it. And I guess that's a great segue into some of these earlier stories. But my mom and dad, when you're, small town Midwest, and I'm sure a lot of the South was that way too. But that generation just got married young. Like they got out of high school, you married your high school sweetheart, and you started having kids. And my mom said that it was cool because all of the people that they ran around with in high school, they all started having babies at the same time. So like they went to their first, I guess it would have been like 5-year class reunion in high school, and all the women were pregnant, and they all stayed. So like my high school class, a lot of our parents were friends and grew up together in high school. So, but when you are young and you have kids, you're typically broke, and you have to deal with a lot of adversity. And Kim and I waited till we were much later. I think I was 34 when we had Rhett, when we had our first kid, and she would have been 31. And a lot of times you have sort of gotten a little bit better grasp on life, and you've probably made some money. You're in a better position. So there's pros and cons to it, but you're also older when you have kids, so like you're tired. Like you have high school kids when you're 60, and a lot of like I've got a friend, Jonathan and Mandy Harling, they have got kids in college, and they're like our age, and they're going to be spry and energetic when they're empty nesters, Yeah. So, but the thing about it is when when you're young and you're just trying to get your feet under you, and so, my parents, like we were broke a lot of times. They had just my dad just bought the farm off my grandpa. They were first starting out. We lived in a crappy old house, beater vehicles and stuff like that. And I feel like even today, when it says adversity reveals genius and prosperity conceals it, you can get away with a lot of stuff if you have money to cover yourself. And it's like we've talked a lot about with like startups. You've got to figure out a lot of things when you don't have any other options. And when you have money, you don't have to figure that stuff out. You got to do the hard work when you don't have when you're in it, when your back is against the wall, you got to do the hard work.
Yeah.
So
We kind of faced that similar thing when I was a kid too. Like my dad's law enforcement, so he was gone all the time.
Yeah.
And my mom really wanted to be stay-at-home mom, but it got to the point where they were so broke. My mom had to go to work.
Yep.
And we had to like move out of her dream house, and we ended up living with my grandparents for a little while, and then we moved so much, and my dad even quit the patrol.
Yeah.
To try and so my mom could have her dream of staying at home.
Yep.
He quit, and I think he quit for like 2 or 3 years, but then he had to go back. So he had to go back to the school. So he had to go through the school twice, and now he's where he's at as a
That's
first
humbling
sergeant.
too.
Yeah.
Have to go back through. How old was he when he had to go back through school?
So he first did the 92nd school of the patrol, and then had to go back for the 109th. He's probably in his mid-30s, maybe.
Yeah.
A little.
So he wasn't that old.
No.
Yeah.
He was right at I can't remember what the cutoff age is now, but it was older than it is now.
Yeah.
I think they changed it, but I could be wrong. But yeah, he had to do it twice, and he's like one of the only ones that have. I think he's the only one that did it twice.
Yeah.
But
that's how my mom was too. They needed extra money. She had to make ends meet, so she started taking a route as a rural carrier for the post office, just as a side gig. Honestly, I think she was part-time at first, and man, I can't remember. She told me a story this past year that I didn't even realize, but I'm pretty sure she dropped us off. My Aunt Ruth had a daycare. She dropped us off at like 6 a.m. At daycare, went to work from 7 to 10, then picked us up, took us home, and then dropped us off again later in the afternoon to run the second route, second carrier. And because they couldn't afford full-time daycare, there wasn't a full-time job for her yet, and they literally just had to do whatever they could.
Yeah.
I mean, she was, and Mom, you probably exaggerated some of these stories, but like carrying the mail in the snow and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, they legit were doing that stuff. And the thing that Kim and I talk about a lot is they didn't have a choice. Like, we got options now. They did not have a choice. They had to do what they had to do.
Yeah.
And there's a certain value, I feel like, growing up as a kid in that environment where you're watching your parents do what they got to do.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about where are we going to go on vacation this summer. It's like, do we have enough to pay our bills, and what are we going to have to do to get that done?
Yeah.
So Mom started on as a carrier, and Mom is a really like very smart, very capable woman. She got hired on as a postmaster when she was young, and she was a postmaster for 35 years in our small town. She started off in Warsaw, and then she got the postmaster job in our hometown, which was like 10 miles closer. And she was postmaster her whole career. Dad was a farmer. I was young when he was renting a bunch of ground, but I feel like we had 200 acres, 250 acres, something like that he farmed. We lived on 120. Sorry.
What was his crop? Or
corn, soybeans, and wheat.
okay.
So that's pretty much what everybody in the Midwest does.
I was gonna ask if it was corn.
Yeah, corn. Well, you have to rotate corn and soybeans each year. So you do
Okay.
corn one year and then soybeans the next year, because they pull different nutrients out of the soil. And if you run the same crop over and over and over, you delete the soil. You deplete the soil. So you had to, he was scratching out a living. And I remember now I give him a hard time because we'd cut a bunch of timber down. And now it's like, I want that for deer stands. I want that for deer hunt. But back then, I mean, he was clearing land to get more tillable, to farm more, to make more money. There was one winter where he had to basically go ask to get fuel oil from the company out in Carthage, because we couldn't pay the bill. Did not have enough money to go pay the fuel bill to get us kids through the winter. And so he's like, man, I need to borrow some money. Can you credit me now, and I'll pay you in the spring, and he did. As soon as he got the money, he went back and paid it. We have a funny podcast episode would be to have my mom come and tell stories about the house that we grew up in because it was just a piece of crap old house. I mean, even when most of the time you don't really know when you're a kid.
Yeah.
It's just where you live. But we kind of knew, even young, like, man, this place is a shack.
Yeah.
This is not good. But mom will tell you that in the wintertime it was so drafty. One time she saw snow drifts on the inside of the windowsill, inside of the house. Dad started wrapping the entire house in plastic, like visqueen plastic, and taking 2x4s on each side of the windowsills and nailing it to get extra insulation on the thing. It was drafty. There was a snake that lived in the basement named Jake. We nicknamed him Jake the Snake.
No.
We saw him all the time. And, mice. I remember multiple times mice running across the floors, But the kicker, okay, my mom is terrified of snakes, and I can't stand them either. The kicker was we came home one time, and they were at the point where they were starting to put a little money aside to build a house. Mm-hmm. And my dad was like, no, we're not ready. They came home, and we had this shag carpet in my parents' bedroom. And I literally, this is one of the earliest memories I have. We came home, and there was a baby snake about 6 inches long crawling across the carpet in their bedroom.
Oh, no.
The house had become so, infested with rodents and stuff. Like, there were snakes in the
everywhere,
bedroom.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget seeing that little snake down there. And my mom lost it.
Oh,
She's
no.
like, we're
We
building
have to
a house.
move.
We have to move. We have to build a house right now.
Yeah. We have to move.
But until I think I was 6 when we moved. So Rhett and Brooklyn's age.
Mm-hmm.
We lived there till I was 6. And then we built a house. The other thing was that house was about a quarter mile off the paved road. And they get snowed in all the time. And, with my mom working at the post office, you don't have to plow a quarter mile every time you need to get out of your driveway. And in the Midwest, it drifts real bad. So you'd get 6 inches of snow and have to plow that thing every day for 2 weeks because it would drift over every night off the field. So they built a house closer to the road, right up on the paved road, and that's where I grew up.
Wow. Would you say that did your dad get you into the outdoor stuff, or do you think you kind of just had your own? Okay. Yeah.
Dad always, so I mean, we were like pals with my dad,
Mm-hmm.
And this, I love talking about stories like this, but also makes you feel like old man talk. But I mean, I remember my dad had an old Ford pickup truck, and with Cassie, you've probably seen these, the woven seat covers. They're rough as a cob, and yeah, literally it's this is the most uncomfortable thing of all time. I don't know where that came from. I'm sure they are now, but back then it was and it was all rough and itchy and scratchy. But he had a single cab Ford bench seat, and I remember standing in the middle and putting my arm around him driving down the road.
Oh,
you didn't have car
that's
seats.
so cute.
Yeah. And so me and my brother, we just idolized our dad, and but I remember riding down the road with him with my arm around him, just hanging out, driving down.
I know.
You get put in prison for that.
Yeah.
Driving around with your kids standing in your single cab truck.
Yeah.
There was probably asbestos in the car seat too, so I mean, whatever. But but we'd go feed cows. I remember riding in the back of the truck feeding cows. We'd fish. We had 3 farm ponds on our farm. My uncle had 2. So we'd go around, we'd pile in the back of a truck and go fishing farm ponds in the summer times. We tagged along a lot. And then when we got of age, Dad really got us into the outdoors. We'd squirrel hunt. Mm-hmm. Didn't rabbit hunt much, but then we got into deer, and then eventually we got into turkey. But deer and turkey populations were starting to really rebound then. When my dad was in his 20s, they remember times where it was rare to see a deer.
Mm.
And even as they were growing up and getting older, sometimes the population, it's not like what it was now. Like, and they're farmers. So like they're hunting just for fun, something to do after the crops come out. Like
Yeah.
the things that we do today, like planting food plots for deer and running cell cameras all year and trying to pattern and strategize. It's like, no, they didn't do any of that
Yeah.
stuff. They just like went and shot deer
Shot
during
from
deer
the hip.
season. Yeah, they did man drives, so they all hunted. We all hunted in a big group, and what they would do is you'd have two people sitting at the end of a ditch. The other guys would push it towards you and try to drive the deer out.
Mm.
There weren't enough deer when they first started doing this. They kind of had to do that because there weren't enough deer. You'd sit all day and not even see one, so they had to like get creative and try to push them out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they deer hunted basically just for something to do. That's just what you did. There wasn't all the strategy and hanging stands and all the crap my dad makes fun of me now for that I do. So, but yeah, they worked really hard, and they had to be frugal. Like it wasn't a choice, you had to make do with what you got, and they worked really stinking hard. And eventually a postmaster was a really good job in my hometown. My mom had a good salary and civil service retirement, and so that was a good job. And my dad would farm, and then once he stopped renting a lot of that other ground, he drove a concrete truck for the ready mix in the summer times, and then he helped with the township and kind of did some other jobs there too.
Yeah.
So
My dad he wasn't big into hunting. We went rabbit hunting and stuff, but and I think he went squirrel hunting with us once or twice, but he never took me deer hunting.
Yeah.
And he'll probably get mad at me for saying this story, but it's just too funny.
Shout out to Eddie.
Yeah. Edgar. Anyway, so my grandpa is the hunter of our family.
Yeah.
My mom's dad. I call him Papa. So I think Papa went with him deer hunting or something. I don't know. They were like behind my grandparents' house. No, they were actually far away. I don't know. He ends up shooting a pretty decent buck. My dad did. Well, he had to drag it out of the woods. And he says, I've only done it one time. I'm never doing it again. And he has the buck like mounted.
Yeah.
But it's in my grandparents' garage because he doesn't want to look at it.
Doesn't want to look at it?
Because he said, it was fun. I've done it. I don't ever want to do it again because I don't want to drag the body out. That sucker was way too heavy. He had to do it by himself, too. So he never took us deer hunting, but we fished a lot.
Yeah.
That was our thing.
Yeah.
Was like they have the trout derby up here. That was our thing, was get up at 3-4 o'clock in the morning. You go to Price Lake where they stock all the fish, and my grandpa has a little john boat, and like me and my brother and my dad were in the john boat, and then my uncle had a kayak, and like my grandpa's brother has another boat, and so like half of my family's out on that lake at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's always like negative 30 degrees and blowing snow in
chilly.
April, and like it's awful. And I've only done it like 2 or 3 times, but yeah, our thing was fishing, and we just trout fished all the time.
We fished quite. I've got another funny story about my dad. We fished. I really, really got into fishing when I was like an early teenager. And you remember Babe Winkleman? You ever hear about him? I remember I got obsessed with Bill Dance and Babe Winkleman, and those were like the two OGs of the fishing world.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Babe Winkleman had a seminar, and they videoed it and released a VHS tape, and I probably watched that 35 times. And the ironic thing is, he was always talking about like big lakes, big water. I was fishing a half an acre farm pond. You could cast across the thing.
Oh, wow.
But like the strategies that Babe was starting to do, I was gonna do that too. But I was old enough to like cast and fish on my own, and my brother was probably 4 or 5 maybe, and he was at that age where he was trying to learn himself. So I was on the other side of the pond. Him and my dad were on the far side of the pond, and we used to fish with these things. They called them glitter babies, and they were like they had probably an 8-inch worm, and they had 3 single hooks, and they had a little propeller on the front. So when Zach edits this, we'll see if he can find a glitter baby.
A glitter baby.
A little propeller and a red and green bead on it, and it was like a glitter worm. And it was like 8 inches long, and the bass loved them. We did really well with it. But my dad was standing next to Tyler, and Tyler was always like way more reckless. I was more like the careful older child, you know. And he reared back and casted that thing. And to this day, I don't know how it happened.
Oh, no.
But one of those hooks center punched the back of his earlobe, like where you would pierce it, like perfectly in his ear. And it ripped my dad's head forward. And of course, he started saying bad words, I'm sure, like I do. And I wasn't old enough to do anything. So it literally went through his earlobe right where you would pierce it, which is a miracle to me. I mean, how does that not catch your neck or your hat or something? Bam, caught him right there. And my mom was either out of town or something. She wasn't there. I wasn't old enough to do anything. My brother wasn't old enough to do anything, obviously. So we get in his truck, and we just cut the line. And my dad, we drove over to my grandma and grandpa's, and it hanging like an earring. And we're sitting there I remember looking over at him and seeing that glitter baby hanging from his ear. And we had, no. This was not in the days of, like, no. I don't even know what it was. But... so we rode over to my grandma and grandpa's house. My grandma, you have to cut the barb and then pull it out backwards.
Oh, yeah.
But I will never forget that.
That was like my dad's biggest fear when we were fishing. Constantly.
Yeah.
He would be like, he told us we had to tell him when we were getting ready to cast. And so he could back up or give us space, and that was his biggest fear, was somebody getting a hook stuck in their neck or ear or nose or whatever. He was like, so that's hilarious. My dad would have had a cow. When
Brooklyn fishes now, and I just tie like a little lead weight or a little piece of plastic or something onto there, we don't have any hooks on them when they're fishing. But yeah, there was some pretty funny stuff that happened like that over the years. Yeah. And, my dad, so for a while we hunted in a big group. And then as me and my brother started getting of age, the 3 of us hunted together. Mm. And then my uncle and cousin and grandpa, we would all kind of hunt. But you ended up hunting in smaller groups. And then as the kids got older, you kind of broke off and hunted more with your kids. Your kids needed more time and attention and focus. And hunting in a big group is a great camaraderie thing. It's not always the best environment for a kid to learn actual hunting.
Oh, yeah.
You got to have a lot of one-on-one attention for that. So, and eventually the party hunting and the drives kind of went away. There's still some guys that hang on to it. And, but, man drives get a bad rap. But, man, I had a freaking blast doing it. I had some great, great memories. And in farm country, like we may kill 8 or 10 deer on a drive, and in farm country the deer are not as hard to access like they are in the mountains where it's all wooded. And so I remember loading up the bucket of a tractor with the deer that we got on that drive and taking them back to the front of the farm.
That's a sight.
The most we ever had to do is put like a chain around one and pull it up out of a ditch if it got in a bad spot. But you didn't it wasn't as hard to access like the mountains are.
So my dad probably would have loved to do that because you guys had machinery.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Didn't have to drag it out by himself.
And I remember my grandpa always used to have a bag full of the candy side, like fun size Kit Kats in his truck all the time. So we always wanted to ride with Grandpa.
That sounds good. When I would say our like community family hunts would be like the rabbit hunting, especially as kids. Because we were basically the dogs. We jumped the rabbits. Yep. That's all we did. Yep. So that was more fun. And I always liked watching the beagles go too. But I never shot a rabbit. My brother did. He shot one time. And I remember when I think my dad was there when Eli shot his first one. He like picked it up. You know how they release? It just started peeing. So he picked it up because he picked it up from the top instead of picking it up from the bottom of the.
Yeah.
I think he picked it up by the ears instead
Yeah.
of picking it up from the hind legs, and it just started peeing all down the side.
That's one of the beauties of fatherhood too, is like you can have your kids do crap that you don't want to do, and you can convince them it's a game or it's cool, and they'll love to do it for a while
fun
until they get smart enough.
Yeah, and then once we got older, we'd be like, the dogs can do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get in the briar patch. Let them do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, my mom's been fishing with us a couple times. She likes to just go, like, especially around Price Lake, just walk around because they have trails now.
Yeah.
Back when I was a kid.
When you were a kid, you weren't that a kid that long ago, Mad Dog.
I know. I'm the youngest one here.
Yep. How old are you? 26?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be 27 in December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom, the beauty was we had 2 boys. So like my mom knew that like she had to really hustle and grind when we were young, and you know, dad was working and stuff. But then when we got older, she got her weekends back.
Yeah.
She got her life back, you know. And she didn't want to I don't know if my mom has ever deer hunted, like ever sat in a stand at all. But no, my mom's a hustler. I don't think she could. But yeah, she's like, you guys go do your thing. Like, I'll have lunch ready when you come back in, I'm gonna really enjoy my time not
that
going.
Eventually I got into that stage. It turned into, okay, Eli, Dad, and Papa are gonna go somewhere, and then me, Mom, and me, Ma are gonna go shopping, or we're gonna go eat, and they would always be like, don't you want to go get your nails done? And I'd be like, sure. And then it turned into, well, I don't want to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, so I'm not going to go fish. I'll fish in the daytime.
Yeah.
But now it's just like too crowded. It's like, it's more fun to just go to the river than it is to go to that lake.
Yep.
It's way more fun just go to the river and listen to the river roar.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
Fish derby. What's it called? Trout derby? What do they call it?
Yeah, it's like the annual trout derby.
Annual trout derby.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
They have the little kids one at the Blown Rock. It's like the little motel right there where that pond is in Blown Rock.
Yeah.
That's always fun. And you like turn in, if you catch a tagged one, that's where you would turn it in, see if you could get any money.
Okay.
My dad I think he got $300 off one time. He got a big one. And then my grandpa's caught a bunch.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that's opening day of turkey season.
I think it is too.
I don't know if we'll ever get into
It's
that.
always the first weekend in April. So it's like the same.
I think that's youth season now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why you've never been.
No.
I asked Ryan that one time. I was like, oh, your kids would love it. You should go. And Ryan's kind of like, I'm pretty sure that's Turkey Day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay.
We can fish another day.
Yeah.
But no, Rhett, as you know, we've been talking about like growing up, where I grew up, how I grew up. But like Rhett's about to become of age where he's going to start turkey hunting, and you know, that's going to be the focus from here on out for the next, you know, foreseeable future, few years. I'll probably shoot a couple out from under him, but no, he's going to start going, so that'll be our focus from here on out. So
that's my
and maybe
grandpa.
even Brooklyn, my baby girl.
Well, you took Brooklyn this year.
I did.
Kinda.
She might get into it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You guys should go watch that video on YouTube.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really cute.
Her little song.
And her little outfit.
Oh, yeah.
So cute.
Yeah. It was funny because I told last year I took Rhett and then we went to get donuts in West Jefferson. And so I was like, you want to go turkey hunting? She's like, yeah, I want to go turkey hunting and get donuts like Rhett. So I promised her that. And so she got that in her head that like we were going turkey hunting and we were going to get donuts. And you'd ask her like, hey, you want to go turkey hunting? She's like, and get donuts. Like it was all, they were synonymous together. Well, the one afternoon that I was going to take her, she was adamant that we were going to go get donuts first. Like she flipped the script on me, you know. So we're driving. I was like, all right. And my strategy with them is like Rhett is competitive. He's driven. He's gonna be. You see him be hard on himself all the time, just like I am on myself. And so I know that the competitive drive is going to come in Rhett. So I've always said I'm going to keep this fun. Like we're going to keep this fun, keep this cool, because he's going to bring that on himself later, and I don't want to burn him out on it early. So I've tried to always keep it fun and keep it cool with him, but it is so hard sometimes, because like I was like, Brooklyn, let's go turkey hunt. She's like, I want to go get donuts first. And I'm driving past the field that I was going to take her, and there's 4 longbeards in a place where I know we can get on them.
Yeah.
And it's like killing me to be like, oh, Brooklyn, don't you want to go turkey hunting first? Don't you want to go turkey hunting first? No, Dad, I want to go get donuts. I was like, all right. So we go to West Jefferson. Well, it was like 2 p.m, and the donuts are sold out of Ingles there. So we got a cupcake. We got a blue icing cupcake. And then that's when we went turkey hunting. She was singing her little song, and we had the rest of the cupcake with us. But, you know, we walked around. We got in a blind because it was real windy, and she loved running the turkey call and doing all that kind of stuff. And then she pooped blue the next day because of the cupcake icing.
You didn't have to tell people that.
Of course I do. It's Dad podcast. But Kim was like, what did she eat? I was like, she probably had a blue cupcake yesterday.
A cupcake for my cupcake.
Yeah. But no, it's been fun. Hey, if you're gonna have a parenthood podcast, then you're gonna talk about poop at some point.
My gosh. Oh.
But no, it's interesting. You know, you try to glean all the lessons and all the things that you learn from your childhood and teach that to your kids, and you know, everybody tries to do better than their parents did and all that kind of stuff. But you realize that your parents are a lot smarter once you hit about 30. You start to realize like they're smarter than I gave them.
25 for me.
25 for you.
Live with them.
You don't have kids yet.
We have dogs. They're basically
when
similar.
you have kids, you'll learn like, dang, this is freaking hard. I can't believe my parents did this for me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we treasure our quiet time in the evenings, and like last night watching the race, the NASCAR race, like that was a total like, that's me and my dad's thing, is watching sports together too.
Yeah.
So we like, my brother doesn't have the patience to sit and watch. So he does now, to sit and watch the whole race, like NASCAR race.
Yeah.
Or like he couldn't sit through a whole NFL football game. And so that's like me and my dad's thing, is I would sit there and watch it with him. And so like, ask me anything about NASCAR, I can tell you. Like last night, and shout out.
What race was it?
It was the Coca-Cola 600.
Was it?
Memorial Day weekend every year.
Sorry.
Charlotte. It was the Charlotte race.
It was?
Yes. Ryan Blaney won, our driver. Shout out. Finally, we believed in you, man. That was our... He hadn't won since 2021. And like, oh, he's great. He's a great guy.
Who's he race for?
Penske.
Okay.
Yeah. His teammates like Joey Logano and Austin Cindric is the newer guy. It was Brad Keselowski, but he's with a different team now.
Okay.
But yeah, it was awesome. Oh, that was one of the best races I've ever seen in my entire life too.
Yeah.
It was great. Y'all judging me, I can see it.
I grew up watching races, but I haven't watched a race since the 90s.
Well, so usually our thing is we would sit, watch like the first 50 laps, we'll fall asleep for the next 2 hours, and then wake up at the last 50. But this race yesterday, there was literally action like the whole time. Yeah. It was just, it felt like they were on the last lap every lap. Like it was, I don't know what was going on. Everybody was aggressive. There was some fights.
Was
like, there? Man, Eric Almirola was pushing Bubba Wallace, and because they had a rain delay too. Okay. That was the other thing. So they had to come out of their cars for like 20 minutes. But it was It was good.
Yeah,
It
like
was
old
awesome.
school NASCAR.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I will never forget that race. That was awesome.
Yep.
It was awesome. Sorry. I just took over the podcast about NASCAR. But it's okay.
The Art of NASCAR
Yeah.
podcast. No, I haven't really been. I tell people that Kim and I met at a NASCAR race, but we didn't actually meet in a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
But I think NASCAR is cool. I think it's cool to see it in person. But to me, it's kind of like soccer highlights. It's like I'll catch the highlights on ESPN and learn everything I need to.
Yeah. Well,
So
you've been though, right, to multiple races?
I've been to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to go. This is another Father's Day thing. We used to go as at the All-Star race before the Coca-Cola 600 when we were kids. My dad, being highway patrol, would work the race.
Oh,
so
cool.
he'd direct traffic, stuff like that. He's got a ton of stories about that. He says that's his favorite people watching place ever.
Oh,
And,
man.
yeah.
It's amazing.
He's like,
It's amazing.
but so like he would always want to work it. He'd volunteer. I think he'd get like an extra pay or something.
Yeah.
But when I was a kid, like when I was younger, probably Red or Brooklyn's age, he never took us. But he would bring me home a hat from somebody.
Yeah.
I was a big Jimmy Johnson fan when I
Yeah.
was a kid because he drove the Lowe's home improvement car,
Yep.
and my dad used to work for Lowe's.
Yep.
So Jimmy Johnson was basically the Tom Brady of NASCAR. So I was always like, no, I was legit a Jimmy Johnson fan.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he'd bring me home like a Jimmy Johnson hat, or I liked the M&M's car. I wanted an M&M's car hat or something. So he'd bring me home that. Well, then we got to be old enough to go to the race, and they took us and we'd sit on the lawn.
Yeah.
And we'd take our camp chairs and we'd sit there. And the All-Star race was like a lot shorter than the Coke 600. So we'd go and like, there's a picture of me and Eli. I'm probably like 8. He's probably 6. And every time Jimmy Johnson drove by, we'd give him a thumbs up. But like, it's not like he could see us because how
You
fast
little
they were going.
rednecks, you had a beer in one hand and giving him a thumbs up in the other, didn't you?
Yeah. But yeah, so
I could see little Mad Dog dip in it like 11 years old.
I've never done any sort of nicotine product.
That'd be great.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, how are we?
I don't
How are
know.
we on time?
I think we're like we're there.
I think we're there. So yeah, this was a little bit of a Father's Day special. But no, we know how difficult Father's Day is and can be for a lot of people. We know how difficult fatherhood can be for a lot of people. I mean, it's to me, it is absolutely the most rewarding thing ever. I love coaching my kids, playing with them, all that kind of stuff. And motherhood the same way, but it's a grind, and you do a lot of stuff you don't want to do. So, as we go into Father's Day, just be thankful for, the father that was in your life, if they were in your life, and just shout out to all the dads out there.
Or the father figure. Whoever
Or the
was
father
a figure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of that in the hunting industry where, they have youth hunts and they have stuff like that. And that is one thing that I do love about the outdoors and the outdoor industry is a lot of times you'll see guys step into a fatherhood role for people that don't have it. Like that's an opportunity for guys to step up and step into somebody's life and help them out where they might not have it. So that's something I've always really enjoyed seeing in the outdoor industry.
Yep. So when I think Father's Day is June 18th, I think it's 18th or 19th.
Yeah.
We have a gift guide on the website.
Yep.
So
and Sketch Drop is live right now. Sketch Drop 002, the Labrador Retriever, and that's going through June 4th.
Yes.
So we will cut that off on Sunday, June 4th, at the end of the day, and we will begin the process of getting with our printer and printing those on the following Monday. And once those are done, they're done for good. We won't have any more of them. So check those out. And who's our giveaway winner, Mad Dog?
Our giveaway winner is Brandon. I'm gonna butcher this. Contrail?
Brandon Cantrell.
Yes.
We'll go with Cantrell.
Cantrell, yeah.
Sure.
Yes, from South Carolina.
Cool, man. We appreciate it. You won.
The framed.
Like this. You won the framed. About fell over in my chair and bit it. That'd be the first blooper deal we got. You've won the framed Labrador Retriever print. So we'll be in touch, and we will get that out to you soon. And
Our next giveaway is
a framed poster of the flyways of North America. This is one of our 3 posters that we've got on at ryankirby.com. And we have a lab poster, we have a whitetail poster, and this flyways poster. So it shows all the flyways that make up North America and the species that make it up, a little bit of copy, a little bit of romance copy. And to win it, you have got to subscribe to our newsletter, and that is ryankirby.com/giveaway.
Yes.
So ryankirby.com/giveaway. You have to register, sign up for the newsletter there, and usually Zach makes people tag it twice.
I know.
Or tag 2 people in your Instagram. So that's how you win there. And each week, the entries for that newsletter sign up go to a bucket, like not a physical bucket, like a digital bucket.
Yeah.
On the cloud somewhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. They go into like a bucket, and then we pull from the entries from that week. So sometimes there's 40 people that sign up. Sometimes there's 140. So you never know. But yeah, drop your email in the digital bucket to win. So that's it for episode 12. Appreciate it. And everybody, hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend, and have a great week.